This conference will now be recorded.
This is VCS01 Legislation and Safe Working Practices, and today's lesson is focusing on Learning Outcome 2, Understand Workplace Policies and Procedures Relevant to the Health and Welfare of Animals. This is quite a short lesson in relation to the fact that we're just focusing on two pieces of assessment criteria, which are AC 2.C and AC 2.D. The remainder of Learning Outcome 2 will already have previously been covered. Assessment criteria 2.C states, explain the term ethics. Ethics is a big part of veterinary practice and our role as those deeply interested in animal welfare at the keystone of what we do. The term ethics or ethic is how we consider what is good or bad. And from a moral point of view, it encompasses moral duties, obligations, and also our values. Now, our values as people who are working in the veterinary industry relate solely to animals. They do relate to members of the public and clients that are associated with the care of animals as well, in relation to treating them appropriately throughout the stages of animal ownership. But ultimately, the animal lies at the heart of that ethical consideration. We have to consider situations where something may not be ethically considered to be good. And we do unfortunately sometimes come across those sorts of situations. We have to consider ethics from a professional point of view. On qualification, both veterinary surgeons and RVNs, qualified registered veterinary nurses, make a declaration relating to the importance of animal welfare in relation to our role. Taken from the RCVS website, the Code of Conduct, this is the declaration that veterinary nurses make on gaining their professional registration. And this came into play in 2012. The purpose behind this declaration is that our rights and responsibilities go hand in hand. For us to have the right to practice and to complete our renewal of our registration year on year, we have to know that ultimately the ethical and welfare considerations are, as we said, the key focus of a veterinary nurse's role. So this registration with the RCVS, when it takes place, is a declaration that we make. It is an exchange for the right to practice veterinary nursing in the UK. And every RVN now makes that declaration. And that has been the case since the 1st of April 2012. Those that qualified prior to that point did not make a declaration such as this, however, can choose to do so or have been able to do so in recent years. The declaration itself is as follows. I promise and solemnly declare that I will pursue the work of my profession with integrity and accept my responsibilities to the public, my clients, the profession, and the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, and that, above all, my constant endeavour will be to ensure the health and welfare of animals committed to my care. It is important to remember that a veterinary nurse will always be acting under the instruction and direction of a veterinary surgeon, and ultimately it is the veterinary surgeon's overall and overarching responsibility. However, we are now given the right to register and become a registered veterinary nurse, and that's really important in driving our profession forward. So ultimately, although the overarching responsibility does lie with the veterinary surgeon, we do have a commitment of care and a duty of care to animals that we are caring for. And if it is found that our commitment is lacking, if we are not considerate of animal health and welfare, the public, clients, the profession, the RCVS, then ultimately we are now responsible for our own actions. And you may see articles or details of where, unfortunately, nurses have not abided by this and ultimately can face removal from the register, which obviously is not what any veterinary nurse wants to do. However, this needs to be at the keystone, this declaration, this consideration in relation to our role at all times. Assessment criteria 2D wants for yourselves to identify the ethical considerations in relation to the health and welfare of animals in veterinary practice. The veterinary profession is an animal welfare focused profession with responsibility to help to protect the welfare of animals. As we've already said, it is the key focus of our profession. We've already talked in our previous lesson about the Animal Welfare Act, the 5 animal welfare needs, and how we must adhere to these. We've talked about the legislation such as the Veterinary Surgeons Act 1966. These things must be encompassed daily in veterinary practice, and we must be working safely and appropriately within the confines of those pieces of legislation. So because of what they already discussed and what we've already been made aware of in relation to your qualification at the moment, those are ethical considerations, thinking about whether something is right or wrong, consideration of the duty of care, and who may be responsible for that duty of care as well. Both veterinary surgeons and veterinary nurses also have to adhere to a code of conduct, and that is something that is provided to RVNs on registration. It is updated, so we do need to be kept abreast of any changes to that code of conduct. And again, we must abide by that. And that again encompasses these welfare and ethical considerations and makes us ensure that we are abiding and acting appropriately within the confines of those pieces of legislation. I've provided links there to enable you to have a look at the Professional Code of Conduct for Veterinary Nurses and also the Professional Code of Conduct for Veterinary Surgeons as well, so that if you do wish to read further into this area, then you can do. Again, this is also a task that relates to your e-portfolio, so any further reading will certainly be of use when it comes to completing this task. So in summary, animal welfare is key to our profession and purpose in our roles, whether that be a veterinary care support assistant, an RVN, or a veterinary surgeon. Ethical considerations are vitally important in all areas of veterinary practice. And you may hear the saying from time to time, just because we can doesn't mean that we should. We should also always think about what is ethically correct and what is correct for that individual animal in that situation, at that animal's age, in those circumstances.